Carentan, Omaha Beach, Bricourt Manor, Bastogne. How many times have you fought on one of those virtual battlefields? And in how many different games? Occasionally there would be a game that was brave enough to feature North Africa for a change of scenery, or maybe Italy, but the vast majority of World War II games featured the European theater, and even more specifically, it was usually the Western Front. Up until the late 2000s, games set in the Pacific were scarce. There were a few lesser-known titles out there, but in the mainstream, you had like one Medal of Honor game set in the Pacific. I'm intentionally ignoring Rising Sun because I think we all want to forget about that one. And then you had Battlefield 1942, which covered almost every major front of the war. But in that game, the Pacific Theater did shine because it gave us the iconic Wake Island multiplayer map. But outside of those anomalies, there really weren't any games that focused on the intense island-hopping warfare that was seen in the Pacific Theater. Eventually, in the late 2000s, there was a renewed interest in the Pacific Theater with the premiere of The Pacific on HBO.
So the Japs got us surrounded. Is that what's bugging you?
John, I shit like 20 times a day. My ass is killing me.
And of course, in the gaming world, the 2008 release of Call of Duty World at War. Still to this day, easily my favorite COD campaign. But every masterpiece has its cheap copy.
He does exactly what I do, but better.
Just 1 year before World at War, the geniuses at Cauldron HQ unleashed the genre-defining, the definitive World War II shooter, the COD killer, they were calling it. Those crazy Slovakian bastards. They put out History Channel Battle for the Pacific. In my video for the History Channel Civil War game, I pointed out how the game released smack dab in the middle of some of the most influential games of that generation, and it seems like Cauldron didn't learn their lesson, because Battle for the Pacific came out in early December of 2007, which means its competition was Halo 3, Call of Duty 4, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, the Orange Box. I mean, 2006 was stacked, but that 3-month period of holiday 2007, I mean, that was probably the greatest fiscal quarter in gaming history. Like, obviously, that's the year we got Kane and Lynch. Anyway, let's 100% this baby. So let's start by looking at the achievement list, and, oh no. 44 achievements, but only 21 are obtainable in single player. That means multiplayer achievements. Alright, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Fortunately, this is one of the most lazy achievement lists out there when it comes to the single player achievements. I mean, it's literally just beat the game on the hardest difficulty. So, let's just see how hard this game is. Mission 1 is the defense of, hey, Wake Island. Like I mentioned before, Wake Island is probably one of the most iconic maps in Battlefield history. It was so popular that it got remade and featured in 9 different Battlefield games. It just really lends itself well to Battlefield's conquest mode due to the island's V-shape, creating a natural linearity, but also allowing for plenty of flanking and encircling maneuvers if you utilize boats to quote-unquote cross the V. So, let's see how Battle for the Pacific tackles this legendary battle and its landscape.
Dubinski, the last attack has damaged our radio station. It can be repaired, but you have to go in the supply crates in the trenches. Get to it.
Yes, sir. What are you... Are you just gonna sit there? What's going on here? Like, do you want to come help? Because, like, it sounds like there's Japanese attacking. Do you want to, like, join me, or... No? Alright, cool. Classic upper management, am I right? Whoa! Why was there no sound for that plane flying by? Where? What? He said Japanese in sight. Where are they? What are you guys aiming at? Oh, fuck! Guys, the Japanese, they're in the trench! Guys! What are you looking at? There's nothing out there! Alright, return to the radio station. Alright, well. Thanks for nothing, assholes. Oh, fuck! Guys, help! Help! How do you crouch? Guys, they're literally riddling me with bullets. Help! Okay, I lied. They're just staring at me now. Is this like a Mexican standoff? I don't know what's going on here. What's the matter, bud? Did you run out of ammo? We are like 3 minutes into this game, and this is quite the first impression. What? Oh no. The two guys that were here, they're disappeared. They've been raptured. Yeah, I gotta say, this game is not as ugly as I was expecting it to be. It's not great looking, but it's not awful. You know what I mean? 2007. Ooh, frame rate is not great here. It's starting to look a little bit like a slideshow. Like, wow, the way the muzzle flash from the guns actually light up the trench, that was actually pretty cool. That's a pretty cool effect, I'm not gonna lie. If the frame rate wasn't dipping into the single digits, that would be a lot, like, more of a cinematic moment right there. And the ragdolls in this game aren't too bad. Did I just get one-shotted? What the fuck? Well, anyway, ragdolls in this game ain't too bad either. Where are we going, bud? We going this way? Or what's going on? You are my objective. I'm supposed to follow you. Where are we going? Yeah, okay, I get it. Your collar is itchy, but can you... Alright, I'm just gonna go this way. Hope it's the right way. Oh my god, the frame rate's so bad. Is this just how the game is? Or is there something fucked with my Xbox? Like, is this just what games were like back then, and I'm seeing everything through rose-tinted glasses? Because this is like... Like, if I was playing a PC game and it ran like this, I would refund it. This is unplayable. But am I just spoiled now?
We've got to get up there and shoot them down.
What are you doing? What's going on here, bud? Alright. Oh no, the crossroads where he always freezes. Oh, okay, we're going... What are you shooting at, man? Where are you going? Were we supposed to go that way, or am I supposed to follow you? Alright, I'm gonna assume that's where we're supposed to go, so... Like, oh my god, this frame rate. And there's screen tearing. I gotta look up, like, if this is a common complaint with this game on the 360 or what. This is awful. Okay, so just a recap of this first 15 minutes of gameplay. We have walked the entire length of the trench and shot Japanese, and then we walked all the way back and backtracked our way and fought more Japanese. Let me leave this fucking trench, please, for the love of God. Like, the aiming kind of sucks. The actual feedback from the weapon and the enemies, I don't know what they're doing with their legs there, but like the actual feedback from the weapons and the enemies are pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I just wish the frame rate wasn't like dog shit. Like the way the characters actually kind of like stumble when you shoot them, and the physics, like it's kind of satisfying.
They're retreating! They're retreating! Good work!
Oh, I was just about to say, oh, this is like a kind of an open area arena. At least this is something different from a trench, and no, the game immediately ends. Okay, so, alright. We had one of the most recognizable battlefields in the Pacific Theater, and spent the entire level in cramped trenches, only popping up occasionally for a turret section that tanked the already awful frame rate. Thank you, Battle for the Pacific. Very cool. You know, for hard mode, this game is remarkably easy. I actually triple-checked that I was playing on the right difficulty because I felt untouchable. The time to kill is very fast, and landing any hit at all will stagger an enemy, so combine that with the piss-poor reaction time and awful accuracy that the AI has, the entire campaign is just shooting fish in a barrel. Every once in a while, I'd get one-shotted out of nowhere, but for the most part, this hard difficulty is easier than, well, your mom. What? G-Man Lives does a Your Mom joke every video. Why can he do it and it's not lame? And this is basically a microcosm of the entire campaign. Some of the levels are more open, some of them are more claustrophobic, a lot of them are just straight up the same trench from the first level copy and pasted. And ironically, the levels where you're stuffed in a trench are the ones that have the worst frame rate, despite only having to render a tiny corridor. I thought the muzzle flash lighting up covered areas of the trenches was a really neat detail, until they took it to the extreme in the cave levels. Muzzle flashes, oh my god, these look like a goddamn strobe light. It's like I'm having a bad trip during a rave and I'm hallucinating angry Japanese men trying to kill me. See, this History Channel game doesn't even really pretend to be educational. You get these mini documentaries between each level to set the stage for the next, but I mean, they really breeze over the history. Like, after completing the Battle of Bataan, the narrator is basically just like, yeah man, that shit was crazy, dude. MacArthur said that cool line about how he shall return. Haha. Anyway, so the Marines attacked Guadalcanal because the Japanese were building an airfield there, and like, there's no mention in this segment about the results of the Battle of Bataan, no mention of the fall of the Philippines, or how this was the largest surrender of US troops in the country's history, or the ensuing infamous Bataan Death March that the POWs went through. Nope, it was like the developers were like, we know the people playing this game are kids whose grandparents got confused at GameStop and thought they were buying the newest Call of Duty game, so let's just hop right into the next mission.
Copy that.
And it's only like 2 missions later that you take back Luzon and recapture the Philippines, and instead of any sort of victory message, the game completely ignores it and just jumps straight into setting up Iwo Jima as the next level.
Iwo Jima. This name would send chills down the spines of all who fought there.
If you put aside the awful performance, the disregard for history, the piss-poor AI, the numerous glitches, and horrible attempts at emulating infantry banter,
rescuing some damsels in distress, eh?
You wouldn't know what to do with one anyway. Both of you, can it? This is serious.
what's left is just a really mundane shooter. Like, the gunplay isn't bad. I mean, it certainly isn't good by any means, but I've definitely played far worse, but it's missing something. Like, okay. So, the thing about the History Channel Civil War game is that there was some enjoyment to be had in the novelty of it all. This was a first-person shooter set in the Civil War, which, I mean, still to this day is a pretty rare setting for that genre. It was mildly entertaining to be restricted to these 150-year-old weapons and all of their shortcomings, and to fight on these varied American battlefronts. Battle for the Pacific doesn't have that novelty. I know I just harped on in the intro about how rare it was to have a World War II shooter set in the Pacific, and now I'm saying that this game doesn't even have an ounce of novelty, but bear with me. You and I have played World War II shooters before, and probably dozens of them at that. Yes, the Pacific is a lesser utilized theater for these games, but aside from the environments and the Japanese half of the game's arsenal, there really isn't anything unique here from any other World War II shooter, or even any other shooter, period. Let me elaborate. For half of the campaign in Call of Duty World at War, you are fighting the Japanese. The other half, you're fighting Germans on the Eastern Front, and there is a massive breadth of difference in the way these two enemies fight. The Japanese in World at War will set booby traps. They'll hide in the tall grass and bonsai charge when you get close. They'll play dead to set up ambushes, and they'll fight with samurai swords.
They came in ahead of us. Ambush! Boom! Boom!
Their snipers camouflage themselves up in the palm trees. They'll fake their surrender and then suicide bomb. These aren't just reskinned generic enemies that you fight in nondescript island jungles. World at War really makes an effort to differentiate the Imperial Japanese from other enemies you fight in shooters. Battle for the Pacific does nothing to make the Pacific theater feel unique. The enemies simply stand in one position, typically clumping up close together and out in the open, and then they just shoot at you until you kill them. They don't utilize bonsai tactics or booby traps or do really anything emblematic of the Imperial Japanese military. If you were to graybox everything in World at War, completely strip the game of all of its textures, and replace all of the models with placeholders, just from the scripted set pieces alone, you'd be able to tell exactly what kind of enemy you're fighting. Do that with Battle for the Pacific, and you probably wouldn't even be able to guess what war it takes place in, let alone the specific theater. Which, now, to be clear, I recognize how incredibly unfair it is to compare a game with the budget and scope of History Channel's Battle for the Pacific with a Call of Duty game, but I'm just trying to illustrate why I think this game lacks the same kind of charm as the Civil War games. Taking 45 seconds to reload a musket may not be super engaging, but it's at least more interesting than killing a generic brain-dead AI enemy with a Thompson, a gun that you have used a million times in a million better games. Bottom line is, they should have better utilized the setting to make the game stand out. But at the same time, how much can you really expect from a developer who's pumping out 2 games a year? Which ironically, by the way, looking up the PS2 port of this game that was made by a separate developer, people seem to think this is actually the best version of the game. It runs way smoother than the 360 version, and it has a better color palette, and apparently it's just genuinely plain old fun. Anyway, you fight through these iconic battles of the Pacific, which, to be completely honest, if it wasn't for the newsreel footage that played before every level, I wouldn't even know where the hell I was. I kind of love how corny it is that the final objective of the game is to oversee the iconic flag raising at Iwo Jima. Like, that's the actual objective that you have. Which, by the way, I had grown up under the impression that this famous photograph was staged and that it was taken well after the battle and the island had already been secured for days, but it wasn't until relatively recently that I actually discovered that's a myth, one that stems from a few different miscommunications. One being that the famous photo is the raising of the second flag on Mount Suribachi. The first flag was raised earlier that morning once they captured the mountaintop, but it was too small to be seen on the north side of the island, where there was still fierce fighting going on. So a bigger replacement flag was brought up, which is the one we see in the more famous photograph taken by Joe Rosenthal. Another source of confusion was that Rosenthal took a group photo of those soldiers after they raised the flag, and when a reporter asked if the photo was staged, he said yeah, thinking the reporter was talking about that group photo, not the raising of the flag. So ultimately, no, the photo was not staged, and the battle for Iwo Jima was still raging on during the raising of that flag. In fact, tragically, 3 of the men in this photo would not survive Iwo Jima, nor would the man who captured the actual video footage of them raising the flag. Sorry to get a little dark on you guys there. It's easy to forget that these stupid games that we play are recreations of some of the darkest times in human history. Like, sure, when you play a historical war game, there is an implicit understanding that these events really did occur, and people really did lose their lives in this conflict that you are now emulating for entertainment. But 99% of the time, you're playing as a fictional, generic grunt, and your squad mates are all fictional too, and more often than not, also just generic soldiers. Even when you are recreating specific historical events, like, for example, the raising of the Soviet flag over the Reichstag in World at War, the actual identities of the soldiers in the original photograph are disputed and ultimately unknown, allowing for Treyarch to take some creative liberty and let you, the player, take on the role. But the moment that this game is displaying, we know who each of those men are in reality. Literally all of them have their own Wikipedia articles. You can read their biographies with the click of a button. Hypothetically, how weird would it be to be the grandchild of one of those guys and see your grandfather portrayed in a shitty History Channel video game? Not that it's a disrespectful portrayal, but it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of strange to think about. How this singular cutscene strips away one of those layers of distance between the actual horrifying conflict and the entertainment product that's capitalizing on it. Video games are pretty weird like that, so I'm just gonna go back to not thinking about it so much. Achievements, right, okay. So we've knocked out... Get it together, Zach. Jesus Christ. So we knocked out all of these single-player achievements just by beating the game on hard mode, which means it's time to tackle the multiplayer. And you'll never believe this, but the multiplayer for this 18-year-old History Channel licensed game is not exactly poppin'. Thankfully, every achievement save for one can be unlocked with the help of just one other player. So I prayed to the gaming gods, and once again, they sent me their champion, Pissfather87. These achievements are a slog, and frankly a waste of time, just like grinding out any achievements in a dead multiplayer game. But I subject myself to it all for you, my viewers. And because I think it'll be really funny to say that the only full series I've ever 100%ed is all of the almost 20-year-old History Channel licensed games. Most of the achievements are cumulative, kill X number of enemies with headshots, kill X number of enemies with grenades, kill X number of enemies with this weapon or that weapon or an American weapon or a Japanese weapon, capture X number of flags, win X number of rounds, you get the idea. I'm not going to go through every single achievement because ultimately there's no strategy here. If you're going to put yourself through the 100% for this game, you're going to be boosting, and probably double boxing at that. So pop a TV show or a movie or a YouTube video on that second monitor or on your phone and just, go to town, get to grinding. I feel like I say that so much in these videos that I should start like a recommendation segment for media that you can passively consume while achievement whoring. Like, while you're grinding out these multiplayer achievements in Battle for the Pacific, may I suggest checking out Sam Brown University TV, a new video podcast by Whitest Kids You Know alumni, Sam Brown.
So do you think I should get back into skateboarding?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that I'm gonna hurt myself?
Yeah, you just gotta remember to bend your knees.
Here I am, getting ready to have metal put in my wrist.
Anyway, the only achievement that will unfortunately require more than just one other player is called To the Victor Go the Spoils, which is to be the most skillful player in a ranked match. Which, ranked matches require 3 other players to be in the game. So I took to True Achievements and scheduled a boosting lobby. I made a community post right here on YouTube looking for anyone who wanted to help too, so if you're into achievement hunting in older games like these, subscribe and hit that bell notification because I'll surely be doing this for future games as well. It worked out great, and it only took all of like 10 minutes to get the achievement for 5 of us. Basically, we just queued up for ranked matches in the game mode where you only have 3 lives, and then took turns blowing ourselves up to end the match as quickly as possible so that one of us would pop the achievement. I actually got mine because the servers glitched and kicked everyone from the game but me, which I guess also counts as a victory, so whatever. But yeah, that's History Channel's Battle for the Pacific, 100% complete. I gotta say, I continue to be morbidly interested in both these History Channel licensed games, but also Cauldron games, as they've made a lot of fascinating titles, let's say. So that's 2 History Channel games down. We got 1 more Civil War shooter and then 2 RTSs, so those should be interesting. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to support me, I have my Kofi linked in the description. It's not a monthly thing like Patreon. You can give as little as $1 as a single donation, and if you do, I will feature or answer whatever message you put with it at the end of my next video. Which on that note, one of today's donations comes from Blaze, who says, I've enjoyed every video you've put out from the start, and I always light up a little bit when I see you put out a new one. Do you plan on doing more games where your community can help out with certain games that have multiplayer or co-op achievements? Definitely down for it. Shout out to Blaze, by the way, he's been there since just about the beginning of this channel. But yeah, no, absolutely. To be honest, when I created this channel, I only had 2 goals. I wanted to, A, make enough ad revenue to cover at least lunch every day at my day job, and B, to get enough followers that I could be able to create a small community to achievement hunt in old dead games. Or even just have game nights in them, or newer games. It doesn't have to be old dead ones. So I guess this is as good a time as any to announce that I put together a Discord server. Link in the description. For now, it's just a community server where you can hang out, and there's channels where you can brag about achievements or completions, and also one for looking for groups to boost achievements in dead games. But mainly what I'm going to use it for is just coordinating boosting sessions or game nights with the community, or just interact with you guys more directly in general. To be completely honest, I'm a little bit of an old man when it comes to Discord. I pretty much just use it as a replacement for Skype. I just call my friends on Discord when I want to play a game with them. I don't really participate in Discord servers, so I'm not really that familiar with Discord culture or whatever, but I thought I'd give it a try. So, link in the description. And if you don't have a Discord, I'll still try to make community posts right here on YouTube too, so keep an eye out for those. And then another coffee donation shout out goes to Sanguine Stone, who just wanted to pay for a cup of coffee for me. Thanks, man. This one's to you. If you have a question or message or game suggestion, or if you just want to support me with no strings attached, I'd really appreciate that. You can check out my Kofi page in the description. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.